here at the Genesis Communication Network, coming to you from the hill overlooking beautiful and picturesque Monterey Bay, and bringing you the news behind the news, the story behind the story. Hoping to convince you that reality is usually scoffed at, illusion is usually king. But in the battle for survival of Western civilization, it's going to be reality, not illusion or delusion, that will determine what the future will bring. I have to remind you the views that are expressed here are not necessarily those of the owners, management, staff, sponsors, or supporters of this station. They're my views, the views of our guests, and, well, today we're hoping to have with us Susan Bucher, and we're going to be talking about post-tubal syndrome. And, of course, this is what happens to women after they've had a tubal ligation. Now, there's a very conscious effort on the part of the population control people to try to convince women that you know, if you don't want to have any more children, the easiest thing to do is just have a tubal ligation. That'll be the end of your problems. In the same way, they've tried to teach men, just go ahead and have a vasectomy. That's the end of your problems. You won't have any more children. But are there health consequences to vasectomy? And I will tell you there are health consequences to vasectomy. And at least according to Susan and the material she has come up with, there are health consequences to tubal ligation. So with that as a background, Susan, who heads a group against tubal ligation and certainly saying that women should be given informed consent as the possible hazards of this procedure. It's not simply a very, very minor procedure like we're told that abortion is. All you have to do is just go in, have an abortion. That's the end of it. It's not the end of the issue with abortion. And, of course, many times women will have problems afterwards. So you pick up the story there, Susan. How did it happen that you got involved in this battle and put together an organization on post-tubal ligation?
Hi, Dr. Sand. Well, my story begins with being convinced to have a tubal ligation myself. And that's kind of where the story began. And as I go along, it might become a little bit more clear as to how the organization became. But what happened with myself is my doctor had asked if I wanted a tubal ligation when I was pregnant. And I told him no, that I thought my husband would have a vasectomy. And my husband had heard some information on the radio saying that there could be side effects to vasectomy, and my doctor had done such a great job convincing me that tubal ligation was safe and without side effects, I went ahead and had a tubal ligation. But unlike many women who have tubal ligations, I had my tubal ligation at an independent time other than a birth. Most women, great majority of women, when they have a tubal ligation, it's after they've delivered their second child or their third child, and they're still in the hospital before they even go home with the newborn baby. After my tubal ligation, so I was having regular cycles, and I was feeling very good before my tubal ligation, and afterwards, my period stopped and my health started to decline, and I returned back to my doctor and asked him why my periods had stopped, and he told me that that was normal and nothing to worry about, and sent me on my way. And little did I know, both my ovaries had shut down, and I was in basically a menopausal state, a surgical menopausal state, and not being offered testing or treatment.
Well, now, of course, was this because of the damage to the arterial supply to the ovaries when they did the tubal ligation, or why did the ovaries shut down at this time?
Well, I wasn't informed that tubal ligations can cause a disturbance to the ovarian blood supply. And this may not happen with all women. Some women may lose one ovary, some women may not lose an ovary at all. And it just depends on how your makeup is, how your blood supply is, and how destructive the doctor is.
All right, fine. You just hold that thought. We'll be back in just a few minutes with Susan, and we'll be talking about this post-tubal ligation syndrome that some women do get that can be devastating to their health and to their families. We'll be right back here at Genesis. People often ask me what they can do about what's happening in America, and I tell them what you want to do is tell the most carefully kept secret in America, and let people understand that America was founded as a Christian nation. It was founded by Christians on Christian principles. Now, of course, this is not taught in our schools, it's not taught in our seminaries, it's not taught in our universities, and certainly never mentioned by the controlled media. But you can help us to get the truth out about America's Christian heritage by setting up an Institute on the Constitution in your home, in your church, in your neighborhood. Call the Institute on the Constitution at 410-760-9068. That's 410-760-9068. And ask about setting up an Institute of the Constitution. It's 12 programs. Everything's there on the video. All you have to do is, of course, get a group together. So remember, the Institute of the Constitution at 410-760-9068. Get involved. Help us save America.
Introducing the best air purifier in the world, the Aeronizer Air Purifier is not a filter, and there are no messy plates to clean or replace. The Aeronizer produces high levels of activated oxygen from the air that you're breathing. There are no moving parts, and it's ideal for odors and allergies. It works for just pennies a day with 24-hour, 7-day-a-week continuous action. Made of the finest materials, it has a 2-year warranty on all parts and labor. And the Aeronizer kills bacteria and mold. It works in the way that nature does in cleaning and purifying the air in your home. Cooking odors are gone in seconds, and pet odors are removed before they become annoying to your friends and family. Cigarette and cigar odors are no problem for this purifier. It leaves the air fresh and clean. For more information about the Aeronizer, call toll-free and tell them you heard about it on Genesis.
The toll-free number to call is 877-605-9200. That's 877-605-9200.
Hi, my name is Rick Castellini.
And I'm Adam Cochran.
And we host the Castellini on Computers radio program every Saturday morning here on the Genesis Communication Network. This is the computer show where you, the listener, are the focus of the show. We answer your questions about everything from spam to
digital photography,
scanners,
Windows XP,
buying a computer,
Windows 98,
how to fix your computer.
Why should I upgrade to Windows XP?
Do I need more memory?
Do I need to upgrade to Windows XP?
What's the best way to print out my photos?
What's an iPod?
Anything related to computers, we are going to answer those questions for you, and we're going to answer them for you in a manner that you can understand and take home and utilize that day.
In fact, we pride ourselves on calling ourselves the program that gives you computer information that you can not only use, but also understand.
That's exactly right, and we would love to have you along with us every Saturday between 11 and 2 Mountain Time right here on the Genesis Communications Network.
Check us out at www.helpmerick.com.
Guest is Susan Bucher, and we're talking about the syndrome that's associated with sometimes not with tubal ligation. Now, did you ever have any testing, any hormonal testing to determine if your hormones were down?
Well, when I returned back to the doctor, I asked him if the tubal ligation had caused me to go into menopause, and of course he told me no. Being the doctor who had performed the tubal ligation on me and having informed me beforehand that my health would not change and that it wouldn't cause menopause, to protect himself. And as I've learned since then that it's not just my case, but in everyone's case, no one's informed. He didn't offer me any hormone testing. And so as time went on and I was in a surgical menopause, I became sicker and sicker until the point where I was finally diagnosed, which is a long story. I won't explain how. People can read it about exactly how that happened at the internet site. But after going and getting a second opinion from another doctor upon being diagnosed, the second doctor told me, well, it's possible during the surgery that he cut some veins and caused your condition. And that's at the first time I learned that I had been misinformed, that I hadn't been informed, and how serious of a nature it was. I was 34 years old when I had my tubal ligation, and 36 when I was diagnosed as being postmenopausal. And if you know anything about FSH and LH levels, which are two tests that doctors will perform to see if you are in a menopausal state. My FSH was 92, and my LH was 27. Now, on the range where I would have fallen, anything over 40 would have been postmenopausal.
Okay, so basically they came back with a test and they said you were postmenopausal.
Correct.
At a rather young age for menopause. So, and this had come on directly immediately after you had a tubal ligation. Now, is there material in the medical literature that shows that a certain number of people or women can develop a surgical menopause through tubal ligation?
Some studies which, thankfully for the Freedom of Information Act, are now available on the Internet. Years ago, before the Internet, any information on this was literally impossible to find. It was hidden away. It wasn't made public. Textbooks and information was edited and censored to the point to keep this information from the public. And so no one was really being informed, and if women did complain, who would they talk to? Their neighbor? Maybe some women at work? How would they group together and to really compare notes or get information and find out?
Well, certainly there's been a conscious effort to have widespread sterilization, not only in this country, but throughout the world. And, of course, in many third world countries, women, were bribed by one means or another. Your family's starving, we'll give you a sack of grain if you'll come in here and have a tubal ligation. Actually, it was in India where they were rounding up the men and forcibly sterilizing them. That led to the demise of Indira Gandhi when she was the president. She was pushing this population control agenda. But here in the United States, most people say this sort of thing couldn't go on here.
Well, it does go on here, and it goes on here because people aren't being informed. And so it's a silent force that's occurring. It's happening quietly behind hospital doors by the way of not informing people. And that's a way to I can't say it, but to persuade someone to do something. It's fraud by withholding information and saying it's safe and not disclosing all the possible side effects.
All right, fine. Well, now, of course, so women are not told of the possible side effects, and yet these are certainly known, at least they're described in the literature. Now, where did you get these studies that you say are posted on the Internet site? Are these on your Internet site, incidentally?
Yeah, well, I've compiled a list of links to PubMed and to other peer-reviewed sites which show studies that show that there's cause and effects.
All right, fine. Well, what is the incidence of postmenopausal or ovarian damage associated with a tubal ligation?
Okay.
Do we have any idea?
Well, some doctors will say that it's very rare, and those who are willing to quietly talk about it. Dr. Hufnagel, who is a women's health rights activist, she's an OBGYN, who's been persecuted by her peers for disclosing information such as this. She had written a book about hysterectomies. Thinks that it's about 50% of women who actually will suffer some sort of post-tubal ligation syndrome, which may not, it might just be heavy bleeding afterwards.
All right.
The condition of adenomyosis, which can develop over time, which would lead women to have a hysterectomy.
Now you're talking about fibroid formation then.
No, not fibroids. There's endometriosis, and then there's adenomyosis. Adenomyosis is a condition which the medical community describes as hardly ever being seen in women who've never had kids. And so it's interesting to note that the correlation with this condition is always women who've had kids. Well, what would many of those women have in common? Maybe they've had a tubal ligation, and Dr. Hufnagel states clearly that the cause of adenomyosis is tubal ligation.
All right, now what is adenomyosis? Can you define it for me?
Okay, if as opposed to blood supply being affected to the ovaries, if blood supply is affected to parts of the uterus, which is a muscle, those parts of the muscle would become atrophic and hard.
All right.
And when you'd have your monthly cycle, because that tissue is basically atrophic and no longer really like hard, when you'd have your cycles and your cramps might be heavier because there'd be more pain, because there might be an affected area on the uterus. It might be just a small portion of the uterus. It could be half of the uterus. Women after tubal ligations often complain of having heavy cycles with flooding, gushing. These are all terms which aren't unusual to hear from women who've had tubal ligation.
Now, why would a tubal ligation result in any damage to the blood supply of the uterus? Certainly the blood supply terminates in the ovaries. It doesn't flow in the opposite direction.
Correct.
So what's the relationship between a tubal ligation and what you're describing, and that is damage to the blood supply?
If the blood supply is affected when the fallopian tube is cut, it just depends on where the blood flow is. At tubal.org, we do have a diagram of how women's blood supply is for the ovaries.
All right.
And for the reproductive, the uterus. And it's not the same for everyone. For some women, the blood supply may come down from the ovarian artery and then in one direction. It's kind of hard to tell. Explain.
Right, in other words, certain women will have this. Now, is this, let's get your website up there so people can actually check the facts. And does Dr. Hufnagel, has she written some peer-reviewed articles that going into the background of that? And
she touches on the subject in her book, No More Hysterectomies, which is available at Amazon and I believe at her site, drhufnagel.com. She is currently writing a book about post-tubal syndrome, which isn't to press yet. And the website for the Coalition for Post-Tubal Women is www.tubal.org.
Right now, you say Dr. Hufnagel says about 50% of women will at least have some symptoms.
Right.
Is there any other studies, scientific studies, that have evaluated that?
Let me turn to some of my notes here.
Well, I was reading through, and actually some of what you sent me suggested that some studies said that there wasn't any relationship.
Correct.
I'd just like to know other studies that show that there is.
A study will come out that will show a correlation, and then all of a sudden there'll be another study that completely comes out and disproves the first study.
All right, well that's not
uncommon. And it keeps flipping back and forth like that. Another one will come out that will indicate yes there is, and then another one will come out that says there isn't.
All right, so basically then there are a fair number of reports that say there's a definite correlation, and then we see this effort of almost like somebody's giving orders, well, we can't have that information
right.
out,
so
because then women wouldn't have the tubal ligation. But, you know, certainly I would think that the thing that should be done is that women should be told of the possibility of complications.
Exactly.
Just as many years ago when I was before the House of Delegates of the California Medical Association, I said that women should be told of the possibility of a relationship between first trimester abortion and of course, breast carcinoma. And I thought it's far more than a possibility. It was a very real relationship. But you'd be amazed at the opposition to even mention the possibility there might be a problem with abortion. And what you're suggesting is we're seeing exactly the same thing with the tubal ligation?
Yes. And the Coalition for Post-Tubal Women isn't anti-tubal ligation per se. What we are is we're anti-withholding information from women. That women should be told of the risks and let them decide if they'd like to have a tubal ligation or not.
Well, of course, if you tell them that half of them are going to have a problem, why, nobody's going to have a tubal ligation. So certainly if you wanted to sterilize as many women as possible, you certainly wouldn't tell them the truth, if
Correct.
that indeed is the truth.
Correct.
Well, we're going to be back here in just a few minutes, and we will welcome your calls from out across America at 1-800-259-5791. That's 1-800-259-5791. Our guest is Susan Bucher, and we're talking about the Coalition for Post-Tubal Women, or CPTwomen, and of course their website is www.tubal.org. We'll be right back.
Have you ever felt like the United States government knows way too much about your financial affairs? I continue to hear stories about property seizures, frozen bank accounts, confiscation of stocks and bonds. It makes me wonder if the U.S. citizen will ever again have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Unfortunately, with the Drug and Money Laundering Act, the IRS Revenue Ruling 6045 of 1984, and the Trading with the Enemy Act and Franklin D. Roosevelt's Executive Order of 1933, some precious metal holdings are subject to government intervention. For this reason, Midas Resources has prepared a report explaining the boundaries of trading precious metals privately. Whether if you have any intention of trading with Midas Resources or not, I have instructed my representatives to give this report out free. Call for your free copy at 1-800-686-2237. When investing, always proceed with caution. Again, call 1-800-686-2237. Exercise your legal right to trade metals privately. 1-800-686-2237.
You've asked for them, and now they're here. Hello, folks. Alex Jones introducing you to the new Berkey PF2 fluoride and arsenic reduction elements for exclusive use with the Berkey Lights Black Berkey purification elements. The Berkey's PF2 simply screw onto the stem of the Black Berkey purification element. When used, water flow through the purification elements where pathogenic bacteria, harmful chemicals, radon-222, heavy metals, nitrates, foul taste, and odors are separated from the water. The water then flows through the PF2 elements where fluoride, arsenic, and other residual heavy metal ions are separated. Your purified water is now ready. If you have fluoride or arsenic in your water, you need the Berkey PF2 post-filter elements. Get a set of 2 for only $49 or get 2 sets for only $89 by calling New Millennium at 888-803-4438. And tell them Alex Jones sent you. That's toll-free. 888-803-4438.
We've all heard the ads for lower prices on airfare and hotel. Oh yeah, the .coms are endless. Cheaperhotels.com, saveonyourrentalcar.com, halfpriceairlinetickets.com. Problem is, by the time you get done planning your vacation, you visited dozens of websites and spent hours and hours trying to save money. Well, I'm glad to tell you there's an easier way to get it all at once. www.vacationatoz.com. A membership in vacationatoz.com will not only land you huge savings on air and hotel, you'll be treated to discounts of 10 to 80% on car rentals, golf, movies, and theme parks. How about free food at restaurants or big discounts on ski packages at top ski resorts? Not convinced yet? How about auto repair, health and beauty, financial services, or shopping discounts? There are over 60,000 vendors waiting to save you money. All you need to do is visit vacationatoz.com. That's www.vacationA2Z.com. Visit today and you can be saving big dollars tomorrow even if you're not taking a vacation.
Got $3 in your pocket? Want $1 million in term life insurance coverage? Call Term Busters now. Rates are low right now. Call and compare. For example, a man age 45, non-tobacco user, issue preferred $1 million of coverage is only $75 a month, level for the next 10 years. Call Term Busters now. 800-430-6692. 800-430-6692. If you're a smoker, we have great rates for you too. Call Term Busters now. 800-430-6692. 800-430-6692. We specialize in term life insurance policies of $500,000 or more. Remember, $1 million in term life insurance coverage for as little as $3 a day. Call right now. Operators are standing by. 800-430-6692. 800-430-6692.
Hello, Dr. Stan back here at the Genesis Communication Network. Our guest is Susan Bucher. We're talking about the Coalition for Post-Tubal Women and the fact that the women are not advised of the potential risks associated with the tubal ligation. Now, there is something in medicine that's known as informed consent. And a patient is to be told of any possible complications associated with any sort of procedure you're getting. Unfortunately, there are certain procedures where people are not told. Women are not told of the danger of abortion. Women are not told of the danger of post-tubal Ligation syndrome. And it almost seems, as you begin looking at what's going on in medicine today, that anything has to do with population control, why the people are not to be advised of the potential complications. Everything else, if the doctor doesn't tell them, all the details, he's going to get in trouble. But of course, if you were to tell people, the truth about tubal ligation, an awful lot of women would say, well, it doesn't sound like a simple procedure to me. Maybe we ought to think about it. And certainly if you were to tell women all the potential complications, physical and psychological, associated with abortion, we wouldn't be killing all the children we are today. Go ahead, Susan.
Well, there's a strong code of silence regarding this post-tubal syndrome. Doctors don't inform the women beforehand, and they don't inform them afterwards, because then they'd be basically exposing themselves for not having informed them to start with. And it's a real strong code. People who break the code, doctors who maybe step outside of the box, are persecuted by their peers and blacklisted, railroaded, and stripped of their licenses. And so those that might quietly discuss, with the doctors who might quietly discuss post-tubal syndrome with their patients, would never do so in writing or in a public manner.
Well, now, can you, do you know of any doctors, can you name me 2 or 3 doctors that have lost their licenses because they talked about post-tubal syndrome?
Well, Dr. Vicki Hufnagel.
Did she lose her license?
She wrote a book called No More Hysterectomies, which exposed the hysterectomy abuse that was going on, women having too many hysterectomies unnecessarily. Within that book, she touched on the issue of post-tubal ligation syndrome and the disclosing of this information, and basically exposed the ACOG, which is basically the medical community of the OBGYN doctors.
Now, the ACOG stands for American College of Obstetric and Gynecology.
Correct.
ACOG. Go ahead.
The thing with the tubal ligations is they can cause conditions in women which would cause them to go back to this very same medical field, doctors, OBGYNs, for second and third surgery, such as DNCs and hysterectomies, because of the side effects of tubal ligation, which actually causes more business for them.
Now, what happened to Dr. Hufnagel?
Okay, well, Dr. Hufnagel fought for informed consent laws for hysterectomies. Women were having hysterectomies. They were going under and coming out with having a hysterectomy, never even knowing that there'd be a possibility when they woke up that they'd have a hysterectomy. She was able to get laws passed in California, Texas, and New York for informed consent for hysterectomies, which started the ball rolling, and she basically battled the ACOG and her peers, and they retaliated back by stripping her license, which in the end, what came down to it was false billing in California and doing surgical procedures which a review stated that they thought were unnecessary. And on the other hand, there's doctors who, one comes to mind, it was a male doctor, and he performed, if I recall correctly, an abortion on a woman who was in jail, killed her, and he's still able to practice in the United States. And it's just a matter of who you know, what you're saying. You know, if she had played the straight and narrow and done the hysterectomies and not informed anyone about the unnecessary hysterectomies, didn't tell women that weren't being informed about tubal ligations, I don't think they would have done anything to her.
So you think she was the target of, specifically picked out and targeted because she was commenting on the fact that there are too many hysterectomies in America. Correct. And somebody might even say that a hysterectomy is
now doctors will say, oh yeah, there was a time back when too many hysterectomies were being done. But at the time, it was scandalous for her to be going up against her peers.
Now, how long ago was this happened?
She wrote the book in the 80s.
All right. Has she still not been able to get her license
She
back?
lost her license. It was a big court battle in '95, and
we'll be right back. Hold that thought.
This is the GCN Radio Network.
Hi, this is Jack Brownrigg with a special offer to listeners of GCN Radio. Use the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights for your good, not the good of manipulating government agencies. Take control of your own destiny. GCN is contracted with Midas Resources for copies of the Citizens Rule Book. This is more than a handbook. It is your guide to a freer life with less governmental interference. Here's the deal. Call MRI at 800-686-2237 and obtain 2 handbooks, one for yourself, one for a friend, and 2 silver dollars for just $24.95, shipping included. More than half these coins were melted under the Pittman Act of 1918 and later with a great silver run of the 70s and 80s. There are less than 1 of these coins surviving for every 20 persons in the United States. Call Midas today at 800-686-2237. Ask for the Freedom Handbook Special. That's Midas Resources at 800-686-2237. Thank you.
Hey folks, Michael Trudeau here to tell you about the first ever half-price package sale at the ARC Institute. You'll get 25 big packets of ARC's most popular non-hybrid heirloom vegetable seeds, plus 4 of their most popular self-reliance books. Learn how to grow your own delicious veggies and build your ARC. Imagine green beans, carrots, peas, and cucumbers, tomatoes, cabbage, squash, herbs, and more. Then harvest your seeds to grow year after year for old-time self-reliance. In living well on wheat, learn how to cook, eat, and survive on the golden grain. Preserve your good food for years with the USDA Canning Guide. In surviving a bioterrorist attack, you'll learn how to protect yourself and your family now from the attacks our government says are coming. Not if, but when. Normally selling for $140 plus shipping, get this whole package now for only $69 and shipping is free. At half price, supplies are limited. For credit card orders, call today 1-800-255-1912. That's 800-255-1912, or send a money order for $69 to the ARC Institute, P.O. Box 1227, Jacksonville, Oregon 97530. Why continue to suffer from pain, illness, and disease when natural health and wellness therapies are within your reach? Hundreds of people report improved health and wellness using Rife frequency technology. In the 1920s, research scientist Royal Raymond Rife discovered that disease organisms can be destroyed using resonant frequencies. The BioSolutions frequency instrument uses this same technology for relief or elimination of pain and disease conditions. There are no side effects. Join others in discovering a return to natural health and wellness. Eliminate the cause. Don't just treat symptoms. BioSolutions has over 450 pre-programmed auto sequences for various health conditions and is very easy to use. It comes with a 30-day return policy and a 1-year limited warranty. For more information, call Alternative Technologies toll-free, 866-885-6625. 866-885-6625. One more time, that's 866-885-6625. Call today.
This is Dr. Stan of the Genesis Communication Network, coming to you from the hills overlooking beautiful and picturesque Monterey Bay. Our guest today is Susan Bucher, and we're talking about the post-Tubal Ligation syndrome and the fact that there has been an organized effort to encourage women to have tubal ligations as part of a population control agenda. And, of course, it's been done throughout the world. But here in the United States, we have actually, of course, prevented the normal and healthy growth of our population, which is why we have to bring in all the people from the other countries and begin to change the culture of our society, because, of course, there just are not enough people to fill the jobs or to support our welfare system and all the promises we've made for Social Security in the future. Now, of course, going along with this effort to encourage tubal ligation was the effort to encourage men to have vasectomies, and then the effort to do hysterectomies, because after all, you do a hysterectomy, you don't need a tubal ligation. And I, as a physician watching what was going on for so many years, always had an uneasy feeling that we were really doing far too many far too many hysterectomies. Dr. Hufnagel apparently had spoken out against this. Is she on the line? Did she call in? All right, fine. Dr. Hufnagel, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you very much.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about what caused you to, to risk your medical profession? Now, were you an OBGYN specialist?
I was not an obstetrician and a gynecologist, and then I started doing research and looking at numbers on different areas of women's medicine, and one area was tubal ligation and the other one was hysterectomy.
All right, now what did you find out about the incidence of complications after a tubal ligation? What percentage of women would have some sort of a problem or another?
50%. And of that 50%, many women within 3 years, again, 3 years of having a tubal ligation ended up with a hysterectomy. They would have increase in bleeding, pelvic pain, and just abnormal symptoms that led to them losing their organs. So it was a very high rate, and I was astounded because I hadn't been taught that in medical school. Then I hadn't been taught it in residency. So what I was beginning to see, and I was labeled the Galileo of women's medicine, was that I was beginning to see a great deal of difference between what is taught and what actually occurs, and what actually is the science of these problems. Hysterectomies were occurring every day in my hospital. I saw normal uteruses being removed. I saw normal ovaries being removed. It was like a tradition that you did these things and no one questioned them. I questioned them, and the payment I got back for trying to change medicine was to destroy my personal life and my medical career.
And you were, of course, never able then to get your medical license back after they brought charges. Were these charges more or less trumped up? I mean, after all, they went on you. What was for billing or unnecessary procedures?
Everything you can imagine. It was 12 years of hearings. I had the longest years of hearings in the state of California, costing the Californians hundreds of thousands of dollars, and going after me.
That was the state medical board.
Right. And my big charge was refusing to do a hysterectomy. That was the big charge they had. That case was heard in civil court. I won the case, 12-0 verdict. They proved that the woman had committed perjury. She was linked with the Attorney General. They had lied in the case. And the medical board and the Superior Court refused to take judicial notice. They refused to get the findings of the trial, and they still revoked my license. It's unheard of. The things that happened to me, no one would believe. And I wrote a book about this. Susan knows about this. It was called Behind the Ivory Towers. I was ready to publish the book, and my doors were broken down in my house, literally broken down. The medical board charged into my house in 2001, grabbed all of my writings, all of my files, all of my videos, all of anything that I had of personal wealth, like my grandmother's diamond ring, gifts given to me, anything of wealth. And they removed them. They even removed every phone out of my house. They accused me of operating and performing surgery in my kitchen. In my kitchen. I'm not that good of a housekeeper. So I was never charged. They never charged me with anything, and they still have maintained all of my personal items. But they destroyed 5 books that were ready for publication. It's really been a horrible life. Horrible life.
Well, I can imagine to the average listener out there, they're going to say, this couldn't happen in America, and if it did, why Rush Limbaugh and Bill O'Reilly would tell us about it, wouldn't they? But I suspect that it'll be a long time before Rush Limbaugh or Bill O'Reilly tells you a story like this. No, this is the first time I've ever talked to Dr. Hufnagel. I wasn't aware of the problem, but, I've seen similar problems where they've gone after people who are trying to get the truth out. It's not that the average doctor, is involved. The average doctor just wants to practice medicine, but so many of them do not have the courage to speak up even when they know something is really wrong.
Right, and I wasn't attacking any specific person, but what happened was, truly, I've studied this very carefully. What happened was that I had a lot of masculine qualities. I had the quality of being a surgeon. I had determination. I had a lot of qualities. And it made me really key for a witch hunt because, they couldn't, I'm not gay, so they couldn't say, oh, she's just a gay woman who hates everybody. They tried everything. They just needed to destroy me because I'm a scientist. I'm very much into science and looking at the data and talking about it. And they were very threatened. I had no idea that the world was the way it was. I thought I could just do my science and be left alone. And I thought if you spoke the truth, you'd be awarded.
Well, you've probably never heard the story of Dr. Bernice Eddy, who was the woman who worked for the NIH. She found out that in the first batches of the Salk vaccine they were going to distribute, there was live polio virus. So she announced that, and they were furious with her. In fact, they distributed it, and then when it came out that they had known that there was a live polio virus, and they gave polio to dozens and dozens of people, and many died. Instead of rewarding Bernice Eddy, why she was, of course, swept off into a sort of an oblivion. She was put off studying cancer viruses because nobody figured that would ever come to anything, and eventually found out that there was a cancer virus in the Sabin polio vaccine that we gave to 100 million people here in America. Boy, they were really mad at her at that point. They destroyed her campaign. They destroyed her career. They destroyed her completely. So, honesty, integrity, and $1 will get you a cup of coffee any place in America.
It's true, and you have to have the dollar, and what they try to do is prevent you from having the dollar. I had a premature baby, and I learned about the Sabin vaccine, and I was the one who started the second wind of whistleblowing on that when we found out that the Sabin vaccine, was causing defects as well. So, there's so many cover-ups that go on, and the public just really has no idea of the level that this reaches. They think this is more for like X-Files on television or CSI. They don't know that it's happening here every day in your hometown, at your hospital, in your area. And women have been major victims. Hysterectomies across the board. The rates haven't gone down. The technology has improved. I created a whole new form of surgery. All right, you're a surgeon, right?
Right, I was an orthopedic surgeon.
Okay, so listen to what I did. I figured out how to use an argon beam with fluid to seal tissue, shrink it, not cut it. So I could do a hemorrhoidectomy on someone without cutting them, without suturing them. Now, is that a revolutionary concept?
Sounds pretty good to me. Did it work?
Okay. Of course it worked, and you know what? The company that saw it said that I'd done something wonderful, but they wouldn't talk to me because I didn't have my license. And I've had this technology. Is Susan still on? Susan, how long have I been doing this technology? For over 10 years.
Many years, yes.
20 years doing new technology, and nobody knows about it because they were so eager to shut me up that they didn't want anyone to know about all of this work. So, I mean, it has been a horrible existence. I mean, my hands have been tied. I should be teaching in a university. And what's worse is I'm having to, bang my own drum, because you can become isolated and people label you, and you're attacked constantly attacked.
Well, you have my sympathy. I know that I've been very, very concerned myself for many years about how, of course, they've mutilated women, taking out their uterus, always in the name of, oh, well, you're going to be so much better now, you're not going to have any more periods, you're going to feel so much better. And when you actually take the uterus out, then the woman begins to put on weight, and many times she has real emotional problems as a result of the hysterectomy.
Well, we're castrating these women, and we castrate them. More than 60% of women who have a tubal ligation. In doing the tubal ligation, we destroy the blood supply to the ovary. And in doing that, we're castrating them. And worse is that these women think it's all in their head because, tubal ligation's relationship to hormone dysfunction is not known. And I coined the word post-tubal ligation syndrome. That was my original work. And my original work was to show that tubal ligations had a downside. There were negative aspects to it. Now, I'm not trying to condemn tubal ligation. I'm trying to condemn practices that we can improve on and move forward instead of staying in the dark ages with everything.
Well, have other studies come out to confirm your findings as far as
yes, there have been, and especially on hysterectomy. And in fact, people have tried to just rewrite history as if I never existed now. It's as if all of my papers and documents that I wrote 20 years ago never existed, and now it's okay for people to say these things. And it has been amazing. It just has been amazing. But I haven't gone away, as you noticed.
Are you still here in California?
I'm still here in California. I'm going after my license again. This March, on March 16th, and I'm going to, see if the medical board has changed.
Well, now, have you ever tried to bring a suit against them for seizing these things from your house and never returning it?
No, I couldn't. It would cost me about $30,000 to do that. And when people don't understand this, when you don't have the money to pay for a Top Gun attorney would want a $30,000 retainer just to go against the medical board. And when you don't have a license, you don't have that kind of income.
And of course, what they do is they impoverish people. They seize everything they have, and this is the standard technique. If you can impoverish the people, then they can't defend themselves.
Right, and also if you take everything they have, like at least I could have sold my books, right? They took the paper copy, they took the CD drives, they took the discs, and they took the computers. They took all of it.
But you see, ordinarily they are required to return that, but I suppose then you'd have to have an attorney to get it back again.
Well, they're supposed to follow all sorts of rules, but the medical board has been in transition, and I'm waiting to see if the new board, is capable of saying we made a mistake and we'll try to fix it.
All right. Well, I wish you well, and I hope that you can appeal to them because the board has changed a great deal in the intervening years. I hope it'll be more honest and above board. I will tell you that when I practiced medicine, the hierarchy of organized medicine was hazardous to the health of the people of the state of California. I suspect it has not changed. Let's hope the medical board has.
Right. I think that the medical board has changed. They're putting more individuals who have a better consciousness, and understand these issues. But it's really hard for me because my story is so outrageous. My story is so outrageous that it's hard for anyone to believe it. I don't even tell it to people because they look at me like I'm making it up or I must be delusional. It is so difficult to tell people, these kinds of crazy stories. But it actually happened. I had the Attorney General talk to me the other day, and he said, well, did you do this? Did you do that? Even the Attorney General who was prosecuting against me was trying to figure out how to help me get my stuff back because he couldn't believe what happened to me.
This is, of course, Lockyer?
It's not through Lockyer. It's the local one here, John Ducray. He was extremely nice and very fair and just on the phone speaking to me. But, even telling him the story is like, oh my goodness, how did this all happen, So,
well, it could only happen if there was an organized effort on the other side. And of course, what you really don't realize is that you engaged some of the most powerful and evil people in the world.
I did. I didn't understand. I knew that they were powerful and they had a lot of money. I didn't know how evil they would be.
Well, of course, you have to understand this all comes out of the Rockefeller Foundation, the Ford Foundation. These people are in favor of population control. They've withheld treatments for cancer. We have a wonderful 4-tape set based upon a talk given by Dr. Day, who was actually the president of Planned Parenthood back in 1969. He gave a talk where he laid out the whole plan, how we're going to create new diseases, because there are too many people in the world, and how we're going to have to withhold treatments for cancer. If any of our listeners out there haven't heard that 4-tape set called The New Order of the Barbarians comes complete with a transcript of this. It's incredible. Could anybody really be that evil? Well, we'll even send you the hearings from the House Appropriations Committee where Dr. MacArthur testified before Congress. Give me $10 million and we'll come up with a new disease that for which there'll be no immune response at all. And the only reason we might not consider it is because it's a new form of killing. But give us the $10 million and we'll come up with a new disease. And what he was really describing was the acquired immune deficiency syndrome, which just accidentally seemed to appear about 6 years later. We have those hearings before the House Appropriations Committee, and we'll be glad to send them free of charge to any of our listeners. Dr. Hufnagel, do you have any parting thoughts for us?
Well, I'd like to work with you, and I'd like to do a series on women's health issues so that we can add to your library.
Well, fine. You've got my telephone number there. You give me a call. We're glad to put you on. God love you. Thank you so much. And Susan, I want to thank you so much for being with us. Susan Bucher, give your website once again, and, of course, your parting thoughts for the afternoon.
Well, women need to become more informed. And we're fighting to get some informed consent laws put in place regarding tubal ligations. And more information can be found at tubal.org or at Dr. Hufnagel's site, drhufnagel.com.
Okay, fine. Well, that's drhufnagel.com or, of course, www.tubal.org. This is a little unusual program this afternoon, but I think it's well worthwhile. And when you understand one of the major driving forces behind everything going on in the world today is to drastically reduce the world's population. And if you doubt that, just take a drive over to Elberton, Georgia, and look at the Georgia Guidestones there, where inscribed in 8 different languages on 4 great granite slabs is the message that comes from the dark side. It was this Georgia Guidestones erected in 1982 or so. Nobody even knows who put up the money for it. But point number 1 is maintain the world population at 500 million in constant balance with nature. Doesn't sound too bad unless you understand they're talking about eliminating over 90% of the world's population. These people are deadly serious, ladies and gentlemen. You better understand we're involved in a battle against organized evil. And we'll be back here in a few minutes. Bye-bye, Dr. Hufnagel. Bye-bye, Susan. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks so much.
This is health journalist Bill Sardi. In November of 1991, the 60 Minutes television show first reported on the French paradox, the fact the French violate every dietary rule for good health, eat a diet rich in fats and calories, and yet exhibit far better cardiovascular health than North Americans. Over a decade later, we know that molecules called polyphenols are responsible for the health benefits in red wine, but those molecules only remain stable in a sealed bottle of red wine. Longevinix is the first dietary supplement to stabilize red wine molecules in a sealed capsule, just like a corked bottle of red wine, providing red wine polyphenols without the calories, alcohol, and sulfite preservatives. One Longevinix capsule is equivalent in polyphenols to drinking 5 glasses of red wine. Call 866-405-4000 today to order Longevinix. It's a revolutionary dietary supplement. 866-405-4000.
Hello folks, Alex Jones here introducing you to the Black Berkey replacement elements. They're new and they're more powerful than any gravity filter element on the market. These powerful filters fit most gravity filter systems and can be installed in minutes. Black Berkey replacement elements are so powerful they remove pathogenic bacteria, cysts, parasites to non-detectable levels. The trihalomethanes and volatile organic chemicals such as atrazine, styrene, chloroform, and MTBE are removed below detectable limits. Black Berkey filter elements also reduce nitrates and unwanted metals such as lead, mercury, and aluminum. Yet the Black Berkey filter elements leave in the nutritional minerals that your body needs. And the Black Berkey filters are recleanable. Simply brush them up with Scotch-Brite pads. Normally $48 each, you get a 2-pack for only $91 or a 4-pack for only $173. Get the powerful Black Berkey replacement filters now by calling New Millennium at 888-803-4438 and tell them Alex Jones sent you. That's 888-803-4438 and protect your family.
So what's in your shampoo, bath soap, and dish soap? Chlorides, dyes, ethanol, sulfates, sodiums, formaldehydes, etc.? Read the labels. Inhaling exposure can lead to coughing, wheezing, shortness of breath, headache, and nausea. Also may be irritating to the skin and mucous membranes and cause you to seek medical help. Perfumes, also known as fragrance on a label, can indicate the presence of thousands of separate ingredients. Now, just by one example, here's what's in my Calben Pure Soap Shampoo. It's all natural, earth-friendly, it contains extra virgin cocoa butter oils and vegetable protein oils. No harsh chemicals, no animal tallow, or testing. So what are you waiting for? Call now, 1-800-340-7091, and find out how a family of 4 can save over $1,000 per year on all their cleaning products with Calben Pure Soaps. Call Calben toll-free at 1-800-340-7091. That's 800-340-7091 or visit calbenpuresoap.com.
Stan back here at the Genesis Communication Network, and of course for those of you who might be a little surprised at what I was talking about, the fact that there is a population control agenda, why you really should get my talk. It's a video called The Population Control Agenda. Or you can get that as part of a 4-tape set called Population Control, and I think that this is one of the best 4 tapes we ever put out. because it will point out without any question at all that the major driving force behind so much of what's going on is an effort to markedly limit the world population, and that's what the drive for pushing hysterectomy and vasectomy and tubal ligation and, of course, abortion and euthanasia. It's all part of the same general movement. If you doubt what's going on, you need to get a copy of the UNESCO Courier, November of 1991. In fact, we'll send it to you if you really want it. It's the interview with Jacques Cousteau, you know, great Jacques Cousteau, that great humanitarian who says we must eliminate 350,000 people a day. We must eliminate 350,000 people a day. If you'd like to read what he said, we'll be glad to send you a copy of the UNESCO Courier. You need to understand that there really are evil and wicked people out there. But, of course, the American people are not supposed to understand what's really going on. So our 4-tape set on population, our video on population control, our 4-tape set on the new order of the barbarians, the talk given by Dr. Richard Day in 1969, as recorded by Dr. Dunnigan, who sat and listened to that tape some, well over 30 years ago. Fascinating insight into history. And then, of course, we have so many other important 4-tape sets who will help you better to understand what's going on. The secret government, the secret societies, our 4-tape set on the JFK assassination, one of the interviews there with Lee Harvey Oswald, another one with the doctor who was at the Parkland Hospital in Dallas, Texas, when they brought in Jack Kennedy, and the wounds that he saw that day were not the wounds that, of course, they were described at Bethesda. And not only that, but when Dr. Crenshaw, who was the doctor, wrote a book some 25 years later, he was viciously attacked by the Journal of the American Medical Association for lying and not being truthful. And Dr. Crenshaw sued the AMA, and they gave him $225,000. Why? Because the last thing they wanted is for the American people to learn the truth. That's the 4-tape set on the JFK assassination, the JFK update assassination 4-tape set, interview with Madeline Duncan Brown, Lyndon Johnson's mistress. Wonderful interview. So many of these people are long since dead, but we have their story recorded on audio tape for you. Now, if you're out there, of course, we hope many of you will want to go to our website at radioliberty.com, where you can hear our programs 5 hours a day on the Internet. And, of course, we are 4 hours a day on shortwave. If you'd like to get a free copy of our newsletter, the number is 1-800-544-8927. That's 1-800-544-8927. And we, of course, we're glad to send you a free copy of the newsletter. Of course, we hope you want to subscribe. But if you'd like to join the Radio Liberty family, if you'd like to get any of those 4-tape sets we've been talking about, give us a call there. Your job is to tell other people about our radio programs. Your job is to tell other people about our website where they can listen to our programs 5 hours a day and not get much of anything done. But, of course, what we have to do is get the American people to understand that there really are evil and wicked people out there. You need to get my book, The Brotherhood of Darkness, my video. You need to get our video, Iraq, the Untold Story. You need to get our video going into the background of the diaprax, the church growth movement that's sweeping America today. Our video, Megiddo, the March to Armageddon. So much material available from Radio Liberty you won't be able to get elsewhere. So we ask you to pray for America. We ask you to pray for revival, because if the American people don't turn back to God, do you honestly believe that the God will ever protect America again? We ask you to pray for our leaders and ministers, but please remember to pray for my ministry, Radio Liberty, for our provision and our protection. Well, until tomorrow at the same time when we'll be with you once again, Dr. Stan, goodbye, and may the Lord be with you.
Berkey water filters are the ultimate filters used worldwide for normal or hostile filtration environments to provide the most delicious, sparkling clean water possible. The Berkey Light self-sterilizing filter elements remove pathogenic bacteria, cysts, parasites, chemicals, and they reduce lead, mercury, aluminum, nitrates, sulfur, odors, foul tastes, and much, much more. Yet they leave in the nutritional minerals that your body needs. The Berkey Light has ridges to deflect water if the upper chamber is overfilled, and it can be used anywhere on a flat surface. That's because it has an elevated base. The entire system joins together to make the Berkey Light convenient to transport even while it's filtering water. Its rechargeable bright white LED lamps allow for optimum use at night or during emergency conditions. Get the Berkey Light, the ultimate filter, for only $259 by calling New Millennium at 888-803-4438. That's toll-free 888-803-4438. Not yet available in Iowa.